So the only thing I'm going to do on this big monster Pi unit that's so big it barely fits on the table, I've given the outside a wipe because I don't like handling particularly shitty stuff. Which, as you can see, just the outside was pretty covered in shit, but the inside is absolutely horrendous. All this white stuff you can see is dead wood lice and all the cobwebs stuck, so there's probably a spider that's still living in here that's been managing to provide a living for himself wherever this thing's been stored, in a barn or a loft or wherever, for God knows how long. But there's a lot in here, so that's not going to make too much of a nice interior when I next have to clean the Hoover, that's for sure. But just to give it a fighting chance, I'm not going to do anything to it. As I said, the whole point of this video is to literally go as if most people would find a radio, an old valve radio or valve amp, and they've got a dim bulb tester and they just want to know if it's going to work. But at least to give the thing a fighting chance, I've taken the back off so at least I can see any valves that may have filaments lit and things like that. But other than that, I don't know what's going to happen myself. And also the other main thing was just to obviously check, because you never know, that the actual pin here, which seems to be rusted solid in there anyway, so I'll have to work that free, is actually properly set to 240 volts here on the actual mains transformer, so that we don't do unnecessary damage if it was in the wrong place. And go from there and see what happens after I've cleaned this horrible mess out. It's a bit rusty in there, as you can see on the actual valve. These the valve cover bases here, they're very rusty, so it's obviously been in a damp environment, which would be typical for Cornwall because it's always very, very wet in this part of the world. And we can see lots of nice little egg sacs over here from, no doubt, the parent spider that did so much of the mess in this interior. So pretty horrible stuff. So let me do my best to clean that out before we start. Right, the only thing before proceeding though that I did want to check, just to be sensible, is whether there's an earth connection on the plug, and there isn't. It's just a 2-wire, so you can see the red going to the English, the UK mains live through a 3 amp fuse, and the black going to neutral. So, but we're going to proceed anyway and see what the dim bulb tester makes of it all. Right, we've powered up, flick the switch, we've got no power being drawn at all, and the bulb hasn't lit. So unless there's a separate on switch somewhere, which I can't find, but it's not on any of the 4 knobs. It's got a lot of different station dials here. There's about 7, let's count them. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've got 9 different station dials, it seems, and then there's another switch here that's attached to this wire here, which I don't even just see moving. That's not the dial cord. That's an actual. It's pulling the I assume one needle across. You can't see on the screen because this thing's so big. But basically, it's pulling a long string. So that's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12 different selector positions, and then what appears to be this is the capacitor tuning, which you can probably hear and see turning around down here. So it's looking at this point that either it's completely dead, or well, it's just completely dead, because obviously the bulb hasn't come out either, so it's not short, and we're not reading any power being used by the dim bulb tester circuit at all. So let me just try and get around the other side of it and just see if there's a button, which I can't. There isn't. I can't see that anything is. So it looks like she's dead, Jim. She's dead, Captain, but not as we know it. So that's the end of that for this so far, and more investigation required. Well, that was disappointing with the Pi. I found out the model. I've managed to find a document for it, which is the model PE80, the Cambridge International, which I got from Electrotania. So just so people don't feel, outdone by a clickbait or something, I did pick up another radio up at the junk shop as well, which is a bit more sensible price today. So I think he's actually plugged it in, being a canny Cornishman. He wasn't going to let the price that he originally put on there, which was £28 for weeks, because I saw it up there quite a while ago. It now dropped to £5, so I reckon he has actually plugged it in and realised it doesn't work. So I suspect that we're not going to have that much joy out of this one either. But we'll see. We'll see what happens and use the dim bulb tester anyway. Just as an aside, maybe we can start a competition with YouTube DIYers to see who can find who manages to get the piece of spare and repair junk that they get that's got the longest mains lead on it. I've just got this one and I've measured it out, and the mains lead on it is it's about 5 meters long. It just goes on and on and on forever, which is so whether someone's added this afterwards I don't know, but wow, it takes, I thought the last piece of kit that I had that I mentioned, the length of the lead, which was quite long, took the biscuit, but it's been beaten by this one. So if you can beat 5 meters, then right. So here we go with the I'm going to turn the power on and see if the mains bulb lights with the first 20-watt dim bulb. Right, well that's interesting. You actually hear sound coming through the radio, and we're drawing 4.4 watts, so we've actually got, it can run it, but it hasn't lit the bulb at all. So let's try medium wave. Ah, so it's a working radio. So that was interesting.
Particular hair, and so I tend to go for things that are like.
And it's actually lit, isn't it? Yeah, you can see the light there. So yeah, the light comes on and off. So this is actually working. So take it back what I said about the junk guy. He even if he did test it, which he probably didn't, because he had AF written on it, which is as found. So.
Fostering isn't always pretty, but it's always pretty amazing and rewarding.
Seems a bit strange that it's actually got a balance control on it. When is there only one speaker? No, it looks like there might be 2 speakers in there. I can see 2 shiny cones. No, it's one big speaker. You can probably you can't see it. There's one oval speaker in here, so that seems really strange that you'd have left and right balance with only one speaker inside, but there you go.
The 2-seater is just £679.99, saving £120.
That's actually quite loud for 4 watts, so 4 watts is quite loud, 5-watt speaker. So that's a worker as well, but it doesn't actually manage to light the dim bulbs at all. But it doesn't need it, being obviously a transistor unit. It doesn't really draw that much current anyway, so not enough to actually light the dim bulb. But again, it goes to show that if there had been a short, this would have lit, in which case it's still a good way to actually test an unknown unit for the first time. If you're going to plug it in something old and you're not sure what it is, especially people if they're not sure what the difference between a valve radio is and a transistor radio, if they can't actually tell just by weight, maybe there's some people that just might not know that, or it might not twig, and they plug something in, and it's the best way to go. I said, but unfortunately, not very good videos, so that's the end of those, unfortunately. But it does give me a chance to look a bit more into the Pi at some point in the future, and we'll go from there.